Okay, so we're at, well, the fact is I don't know exactly where we are at. We got just this little pitcher of red wine. You can see how tiny this is. And it's served in these little glasses that are like the size of a shot glass, basically, like a shot and a half glass, which is adorable, right? Welcome to Destination Eat Drink, the travel channel for foodies. I'm Brent Peterson. I'm an American living in Portugal, and we decided to take a little side trip from our trip to Beja, which is in the south of Alentejo in Portugal, down to Cuba. And you can tell I'm in a pretty rowdy bar called Canina. This place is fantastic. All right, first of all, let me tell you why we came here in the first place. This place makes their wine and stores it, ferments it in amphora containers, which simply means terracotta jugs, massive terracotta jugs that hold, I think, 600 liters of wine at a time. So these are big jugs. This is the ancient way of winemaking. If you think back to the Roman times, these clay pots are how the Romans fermented and aged their wine 2,000 years ago. These guys behind me have obviously been here longer than we have. They're having a good time. So it's a very expensive way of making wine. Not too many people do it, although I have seen it in just a couple of places here in Alentejo. And so I was really pumped when I saw that this place in Cuba makes their wine using this clay pot fermentation method. We walked in through here. The room coming into the bar is lined with these terracotta pots, and you can smell the fermenting wine. We got just this little pitcher of red wine. You can see how tiny this is. And it's served in these little glasses that are like the size of a shot glass, basically, like a shot and a half glass, which is adorable, right? So we'll give this a try. So good. So what does it taste like when your wine has been aged in terracotta pots? The clay imparts a kind of minerality. So you get, Karen thought it had more of a fruity flavor. I think it's just minerality coming through. Maybe it's more fruit. But this is a fine example of the terracotta aged wine. I really like it. The guy behind the bar gave us a serving of olives too. Probably brined in-house. Salty, tasty. And then he gave us some fruit. I don't know, we looked like we were maybe suffering from a scurvy or something. Wow. Citrus season in Portugal. So you get amazing citrus this time of year. So good. I don't know how well it's going to go with my wine, but I appreciate the effort from the bartender. This place is so cool, so authentic, so representative of this area of Portugal. I'm really glad we found it. Very special. Behind me is a statue of Christopher Columbus. You may be asking yourself, why is there a statue of Christopher Columbus in Cuba, Portugal? Well, there's a certain group of people who believe Christopher Columbus was actually born in Portugal. He's not Italian, he's Portuguese. Why do they think that? Well, there's not a lot of evidence to support the fact that he's from Cuba, but people think that since he landed in the Caribbean and he landed in Cuba and he called it Cuba, that he must be from Cuba, Portugal. Seems pretty flimsy, and I've asked people from Cuba if they believe it, and they all say, no, it's just a legend. But there it is. There's a statue of the explorer. I think one of the reasons is because the Portuguese were such avid sailors and avid explorers in the 15th, 16th, and 17th centuries that they want to claim everyone as Portuguese. And so they claim Christopher Columbus as their own. So why not? If they want him here in Cuba, then I guess they can have him. But it's kind of a funny and interesting little legend to go along with this little town. Okay, so we're at, well, the fact is I don't know exactly where we are at. We went into a place I wanted to visit, Casa de Monte Pedral, and there were some jokers at the bar who were drinking, and I asked the guy who was in charge there if we could have some wine, and he let us out the back door to this place. So I don't know if it's part of that place or it's a completely different place. I kind of have the feeling it's a different place, and he just shuttled us out the back door. It doesn't matter. This place is cool as well. There's when there's a dog sleeping in the corner, you know you found a cool place. There's some locals here enjoying some wine. There's a wine press here, and there's beautiful pictures behind the bar of guys engaged in traditional activities of Alentejo, you know, harvesting and or maybe post-harvesting and drinking wine and singing and things of that nature that are known here in Alentejo. And there's some nice poetry about how beautiful Alentejo is and how beautiful Cuba is. So this is a cool spot. We got a plate of olives included with our wine, which is a nice touch. And I gotta say, these olives are really, really good. They're meaty and chewy, and it's not something you always get. Sometimes, if they've been brining too long or if they're old, the olives can be mushy. These have like a bite to them when you pop them in your mouth. So it's good, really good olives. I decided to get the white wine because we got the red wine last time to see how that is. And there's a nice white wine from Alentejo. I mean, when I say it's from Alentejo, it's from right here. Just to my left, there are these big stainless steel vats. I don't know what they hold, 500 liters of wine, something like that, maybe more. And the lady, Maria, she pours it directly from that stainless steel vat into this pitcher and serves it to you. I mean, how great is that? So, what's the wine like? It's pretty good. I'd say it's a little fruity. It has like maybe a little apricot in it, and it's pretty tasty. And the saltiness of the olives, that makes for a nice contrast. So that's pretty cool. Now, out in front of the restaurant we tried to go into, there's a statue of Christopher Columbus. And, you know, I told you about the rumor that Christopher Columbus was born here in Cuba, Portugal. Well, these guys take it a step further. They even rumor that he was born right here, like this is the exact spot where he was born in this house. Again, not to discount what people believe, but seems a little far-fetched. Anyway, great wine here in Cuba, and let's head off to our next spot, shall we? This is the monument to singing of Alentejo, Cante Alentejo. This is an important monument because singing, as determined by UNESCO, is a cultural heritage that's integral to Alentejo. And I don't know if you can see this, but this monument really depicts very well the singing costumes that they have for the singing groups in Alentejo. You can see the men wearing the hats, and women also have hats and scarves and the skirts and the jackets. It's all very traditional for these folk singing groups. And all of the towns around Alentejo, they all have singing groups, and they perform all over Portugal. We're not in Alentejo, in our city of Setúbal, but we see singing groups like these come to our town and perform all the time. And it's really quite moving to see them perform their traditional folk songs, whether it's in our city or here in Alentejo. So I'm glad to see that they've recognized that with this monument. I think the lesson of our little trip here to Cuba today has been, listen, when people tell you to go to a place, we were not going to go to Cuba as part of this trip to Beja. In fact, I hadn't even heard of Cuba, Portugal before we came here, but we were in a restaurant and the owner said, you know, go to Cuba. She's from Cuba. We asked her where we should go to get some good wine. She said, go to Cuba. I said, we have to go all the way there? She said, go there, you'll be rewarded. And most certainly we were. We had some great wine here. This is a very sleepy town, but very characteristic of this part of Alentejo and this part of Portugal. So I'm really glad we came, and listen when people tell you, it's definitely worth it. Well, that's it for this episode and for this video. Thanks so much for watching. If you like travel and food, hit me up on Buy Me a Coffee. That's buymeacoffee.com/destination-eat-drink. You can also listen to the podcast. I got nearly 300 episodes now, 300 of them, hard to believe, of food and travel throughout Portugal. And there's the destinationeatdrink.com website for the blog, for the videos, for all the stuff that we do, including the podcast. So you can follow me there or follow me on Facebook. Thanks for watching, appreciate you, and I'll see you down the road.
Mas não sei se é maldoso ou não é. Mas agora foi com coisa de maldade. Lembra de outra vez? Não, Gonçalo. Eu estou brincando. Eu vou brincar. É verdade, essa gente entende. Essa gente entende. Oi, Gonçalo, sabes o que é que foi ganhar comigo? Livre, parece mal. Vai? Isso é um sintoma de que na foda venha.